Whenever we would see her, whether we lived in Brisbane, it was always a Sunday. We'd go to her place and she'd cook this amazing meal and put it out on the table, and you know, you'd have everything from roast meats to salads to desserts. And that was a real sort of eye-opener, for when you're a young kid, to see someone create something from scratch. That was great. So, and that's really where I started to get my enthusiasm for cooking. My name is Shane Giles. I'm originally born in Brisbane, Australia. I left Australia in 1990 after doing a 5-year apprenticeship as a chef. And then I moved over to Asia, to Penang. From there I spent 3 years working in Malaysia before I went to London. After London I moved back to Asia, places like India, China, and then basically moved to Thailand around 14 years ago. Actually, I learned this dish not from a chef, but actually from a fellow foodie. He's Italian, his name was Frank Ferraro. He's an Italian American. When I was living in Bali, we used to hang out sometimes and do some Sunday cook-offs. Actually, Jamie Oliver back in the 90s used to promote these, but basically, so what we do is we first layer up different ingredients, and we dress it as we go. So it's quite flavorful, very umami flavored. So I'm first going to start off just by putting some salt on the plate. Little knobs of fresh ricotta around the plate in a very sort of scattered way. Then I'm going to mellow, and then the flavor from the tarragon just helps to, nothing too fine. And then I'm just going to sprinkle it over that layer. I like to use a cheese called Boursin, which is a natural sort of cream cheese flavor. A little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper. I'm going to put another drizzle of olive oil. Then we're going to go back again for some ricotta. And we basically just repeat this 2-3 times of beautiful crests, and just use those. The last layer, I put a little truffle olive oil, a little bit indulgent, and that is my fresh ricotta, edamame, and Boursin cheese salad. Not too much cooking involved, just lots of layering and lots of great fresh ingredients, but something simple to put together. Goes great with a steak. Well, being born in Brisbane, but lived in North Queensland, in a place called Rockhampton for many years, which is one of the parts in Australia which is quite famous for its beef, the cattle farms. So I lived there with my parents, and you know, I was an average scholar. I wasn't, I didn't really enjoy school. And my grandmother actually and my mother were both in the hospitality industry. So my grandmother was a chef on the railway when she was younger, and my mother and father ran restaurants, cafes. So basically I left school at an early age and started my apprenticeship at the age of 15. And at that time there is a vocational college training course in Australia called TAFE. And that was where I got my start. And I did that full time for 6 months. And I got a real taste for cooking, you know, for butchering and for baking, and really understanding what cooking was all about. So just before grilling, what we'll do is we'll take this meat, we'll put a little bit of, we'll give a gentle rub with some oil, some grapeseed oil, and we'll give it a seasoning, a light seasoning of salt, but I'm going to go a little bit heavy on the pepper on a few pieces, and we're going to cook it today on a flat part of the grill, and then which will give a very scorching effect to the pepper. And then the other two pieces, what we're going to do is we're going to cook that on the open char grill. So we don't want to put pepper on the meat which is going on the open char grill because that burns. And so we're just going to season that meat with salt. So we're going to do the meat in two different styles today. Salt. Just going to place those in there. So what I'm going to do is just give that a little bit of a gentle massage. Okay, loosen all that up. Also get that oil, that salt, that pepper into the meat. But this one is just salt. So the reason why we don't put pepper is because the pepper will char and burn. And then this one, we're going to seal it on either the flat grill, or we can use a barbecue mat. So it won't have, it'll still have the heat from the flame, but it won't have the direct char from the flame. And it just gives two different flavors. All right. The grill. So just make sure your grill's to the right temperature, probably around 250 to 300 at the moment. The meat which doesn't have the pepper. 2 cuts of that down. This is without pepper. And then the one with pepper, I'm going to lay this on the barbecue mat which has got the pepper. Okay, so just going to close that lid. Actually, because of the way it's done in this egg shape, and it's got the vent at the top and a vent at the bottom. So basically this is like a grill and oven at the same time. So basically you're getting two it's almost like a convection oven without the mechanical force, just more natural. It's sealing off nicely. Still needs a little bit more time. You always cook your meat around I would say almost 60% of the way, so that when you turn the meat, then you take it the next sort of 20-25%, and then basically when you rest it, it goes an extra 10. So depending on how you want the meat cooked, I'm going for a nice sort of medium rare to medium. This should basically, by the time we do the second side, seal it, then rest it, it should take it through to a nice medium. Is a Wagyu cut. As that butter melts over that beef, butter makes everything better. This is going to be delicious.